Do you want to know how to talk about relationship problems without fighting? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach good communication all over the world through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about relationship problems discussed calmly. In this video, we're going to be talking about the ideal way to prepare to discuss relationship problems. And then we're going to talk about what to do when we might have a habit that is less than ideal, such as fighting. Because there are two different frameworks that we could utilize depending on where we're at in our relationships. First, let's understand that if you really want to discuss relationship problems in a healthy way, it does require preparing ahead of time. So I teach self-government. This whole channel is about teaching self-government. It's important that we understand the definition of self-government. Self-government is being able to determine the cause and effect of any given situation and possessing a knowledge of your own behavior so that you can control them. So what that means is that you understand your own tendencies, your own behaviors, your own processing, and then you analyze those things and you plan for how you want to move forward in the most productive way possible. You actually chart your course and make a plan for how to stick to it if you go off course. So in relationships, if you are self-governing, the ideal thing to do would be to say, what do we want our relationship to be like? Okay, we plan that out. Then, what could happen that could create a relationship problem? We come up with some scenarios, maybe selfishness, maybe not taking time with each other, maybe not helping out. What are some things that could occur that could create a relationship problem? Then we say, if we have a relationship problem, how should we handle that relationship problem? In the teaching self-government, communication, and parenting system, we have all these different journals that are for different meetings and different ways to problem solve. I'm just going to focus on this one for now, the couples meeting journal. Now, you could have a relationship problem with your child. Then you would probably want to use the mentor meeting. But with your spouse, it's good to have a checkup time about your relationships as just a couple. Now, the family meeting would be a good time to talk about the full family relationships, okay? But my husband and I decided that in order to make a really strong husband and wife relationship, we need to have regular communication about the relationship. The highest level of communication, the most productive communication, is what is called meta-communication. Meta-communication means you talk about what you're going to talk about before you talk about it. So if I'm going to discuss a problem that I have with my husband, I need to discuss first, how do we solve problems as a couple? Then I can use that plan to actually work through the actual problem that I have with my husband. This is the type of communication that we do in all of these meetings. Every single week, my husband and I would say, how's our relationship doing? What do we need to discuss? Or, I think there's a problem that we've been having this week. How should we go about fixing that? But we were always assessing our relationship. And initially, when we first started our couples meetings, we said, all right, if we ever need to correct each other, how are we going to do it? I teach the 4 basic skills of self-government to parents so that they can teach it to their children. Those 4 basic skills are just adult skills. They're for everyone, actually. And if you have been subscribed to this channel for a while, you've heard me talk about these 4 basic skills a lot. The 4 skills are following instructions, accepting no answers and criticism, accepting consequences, and disagreeing appropriately. These 4 basic skills are used in every single relationship. So even in a husband and wife relationship, we may have to instruct each other sometimes, give no answers sometimes, disagree appropriately, even accept consequences. Not that the consequences are done in the same way as with the children, but still, there are consequences in every relationship. So we have to use all 4 of the 4 basic skills on a daily basis as a husband and wife. So we need to prepare ourselves ahead of time for how we will correct each other or bring up a problem that we might be having. In our relationship, we decided that bringing up the problems was going to be best in the couples meeting, unless the problem could not wait until a couples meeting. So one thing that having the couples meeting allowed us to do was to say, yes, this is a problem. I will put it on the list for things that we're going to discuss in the couples meeting. And now it could just sit. I don't have to worry about it. I know it's going to come up later. And by the time it comes up later, hopefully I'm not feeling emotional about it. Hopefully I can now discuss it better. But if it is an urgent thing, something very important, then what was I going to do? Well, I would say to my husband, hey, can I have a little emergency meeting with you? There's something that we need to discuss. And I would ask him, are you okay having an important discussion right now? And see where he's at emotionally, because there's not going to be any point in me having an important conversation with a person who's starting to feel volatile. This also prepared him to choose how he was going to be. Am I going to choose calmness right now, or am I going to be choosing something else? I want to choose calmness. So yes, thank you for asking. I think I am calm and I can have that conversation. Great. Then I'm going to be utilizing one of my skills, my disagree appropriately skill. I'm going to thank him for having the conversation with me. I'm going to say that I understand where he's coming from on a certain issue, and then I'm going to explain my point of view, listen to what he has to say. And I'm going to do all of this with calmness. This is going to be a big part of our discussion, that disagree appropriately mindset, where we really want to understand the other person. We want to listen to the other person. That is so important. If a person does not feel heard or understood, they don't feel safe. So be sure to make a plan for how you are going to discuss problems in your relationship ahead of time. But what if you have a circumstance where you didn't already make that plan? There's a lot of anger or friction. Now, how are you going to discuss the problem in your relationship? That's when we get to something different. If you've been fighting, then you know it is time to have a really crucial conversation. It's time for you to discuss proactively and calmly what's been going on. But sometimes that seems really hard when emotions are running high. The first thing that you can do is declare to yourself, we need to have a discussion. I need to talk with him or her about the problem. But first, I've got to admit my own faults. I need to be completely honest. And if you are completely honest with yourself, you should be able to see how maybe you showed a little bit of unkindness, or maybe you didn't act like you cared about something. Maybe you took advantage of another person, or you blamed them when you shouldn't have. Be completely honest with yourself. Go looking for all the things you did wrong. It takes a truly humble heart and an honest person to do that. For most people, it's just too painful, and they choose to blame instead of admit what they have done in the situation. But if you can admit what you've done in the situation, you will have a change of heart and you'll be ready to move on with a really productive conversation. Once you feel like you are ready to admit what you've done wrong, then you'll probably want to go to the person and suggest a conversation. In a non-confrontational way, hopefully keeping them in a place where they feel safe, you might say, we have a situation in our relationship and I know that I'm a lot at fault for it. I know I've done a lot of things I shouldn't have done, and I would like to ask your forgiveness. But before I do, can you please tell me what you know is going on in our relationship? And maybe how you see it, so that I can know if there's anything else I need to address. And then they talk, and you listen. Only listen. Maybe write down some of the things that they say. And then afterward, you apologize. You make sure that you repeat back some of the things that they said so that they are sure you understand. You're not blaming or judging. You're not looking for them to say that they're sorry, although hopefully they do too, because usually both people have done some things that they shouldn't have if you got to a place of fighting. At least someone wasn't disagreeing appropriately. Hopefully they will also express honesty for what they have done. Then you can start planning at that point for how you will improve your relationship. You can also have a time where you follow up with each other or check back later to make sure that you are still maintaining your course over a period of time. This is where your regular meetings come in. That's your checkup time. If you want to make sure that your relationship problems get solved, in calm, caring, kind ways. You've got to get to the place of conversation. Discussing before is always best, but if you've already had the problem, you can discuss after too. It'll just take a few more steps. If you've enjoyed this video, I'm quite sure you'll love my next video, which is how to help someone feel safe while talking to you. That video will give you additional insights into how the other person might be feeling and how to create that environment for good communication, safety. Click on the link to that video now. I'll see you there.